It's another beautiful Sunday afternoon. This is Rubbing Minds. Welcome. My name is Ebuka Obiuchendo. Great to be with you as usual. We're going to start, as we always do, with the week that was. Just quick rundown of what has been happening in the news in the past week. Boko Haram is back in the news with some sort of force. We did hear that they attacked a village in the outskirts of Borno State called Minok and killed about 36 people in the marketplace, I think, and of course attacked a few other villages. What makes this one even more dastardly than usual is the fact that most of them were actually shot as against, what used to be the case where they would plant bombs or you had suicide bombers. So they were actually shot at point blank range. It's very scary to see that these people are getting more menacing and more daring. I mean, if you're going to walk into a market and open fire, it does show, I think, to an extent that you have no fear of getting caught or getting arrested or of being countered at all. And at least in the past week, we didn't hear any stories about villages being claimed or flags being hoisted. So hopefully that's, whether it was a rumor or not, at least that part of things might not necessarily be a trend for now, hopefully. But of course, they also did attack a school in Kano, the Federal College of Education, I think, in Kano State, and killed about 13 people. I don't know if this is going to be like a new trend as well, seeing as elections and politics is becoming very hot in the air. And a lot of people keep thinking or saying that the Boko Haram attacks have a lot of political undertones. We're going to be watching in the week ahead. Hopefully, Mr. President does speak up as usual. He's been pretty quiet for the last couple of weeks on a lot of issues happening in the country. But we know that he also got in the news a lot this week with his politics and his party adopting him. But we're going to go into much detail with that much later on in the show. Moving on now to what has been very, very controversial in the last week, plus is the collapse of a building in a church here in Lagos, the Synagogue Church of All Nations, belonging to Prophet T.B. Joshua. What makes it very controversial is the fact that we don't seem to agree, first of all, on the number of dead. South Africans insisting that at least 84 South Africans were killed in that building collapse. The Nigerian government, both federal and Lagos State, seem to have a lot of conflicting numbers and do not think it's even up to 84 in total. The South African government, and did see a couple of headlines online today from South African newspapers claiming that the Nigerian government has not treated the case with the sort of urgency that they expected. So it looks like we might be heading for some sort of a diplomatic row again with South Africa, especially seeing that there was an issue as well during the week of a $9.3 million landing in the airport in Johannesburg from Nigeria, and it's been seized, and there's a lot of government back and forth going on there with who the money actually belongs to and what will happen with that particular situation. So we'll be watching the two giants of Africa to see how they resolve this one. Unfortunately, lives were lost, and we do know that South Africans have tried to come in to help with rescue efforts, and that was rebuffed by the Nigerian government. So most importantly, I hope we respect the dead in this case, and those who are responsible for whatever it is that happened with that building should be brought to book regardless of their status or whatever it is they hold in society. Finally, on to some, what you call some good news. We did go through, I think, the first week in this country without any Ebola stories that scared anyone away. We don't have any new cases, I think, and it looks like most of the people under surveillance have been told to go back to their homes. So for now, at least, Nigeria seems to be Ebola-free. Schools are going to resume tomorrow, from what I know, and those in boarding schools have resumed yesterday. So it looks like the country might be back to its usual grind, especially for the students and with the Ebola cases there. Hopefully, the borders are still being watched, especially the airports, to ensure that none of these people who, from the affected countries or anybody who does have the disease gets to come into the country again and cause the kind of scare we had in the last 2 months and a half. But we're going to take a very quick break now and be back with more right here on Rubbing Minds, talking about politics and 2015 in particular. We'll be right back.
We represent.
Welcome back. If you've been watching Rubbing Minds in the last couple of weeks, you know we did start a series called The Road to 2015 Elections, and of course today we're going to be going in depth with that, talking about all of the issues that happened in last week. It was a very loaded week politically, and it looks like the elections in February next year have kicked off intensely. I have here with me Ayokunle Odekunle is a lawyer. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah.
And of course, Ademola Olanrewaju is a political commentator. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Let's start with you now, and let's start with Mr. President. Looks like the governors and the board of trustees and everybody who matters in PDP has endorsed him to be the sole candidate for the party. What's your thoughts on that?
It has been coming. It has been coming that the president will be the sole candidate of the PDP. If you've been following the events ever since the 5 renegade governors left the party, those governors are normally the people that should have given the president problems getting the PDP ticket. So having them out of the way,
Yeah.
the president had a clean slide ever since then. And then for now in the PDP, no serious person.
But two of the most serious, apparently renegade governors at the time still stayed back in the party, and one of them apparently had a very serious ambition, Lamido of Jigawa State. So a lot of people thought that would be a problem, but that ended up not being a problem eventually. And Babangida Aliyu from Niger State. Yeah.
Well, they probably looked at the body languages of people. I mean, when the whole party is saying yes, you can't say no.
Yeah.
So I think it's good for the party. They have a united voice. Nobody is saying no for now.
Well, something I would just, before you go on, something I want to touch on is the fact that a lot of people, the PDP, a lot of PDP members have always accused the APC of not being internally democratic. And it looks like they've gone that way this time with adopting a sole candidate against having a primaries properly being held.
Well, I think if we would be frank, we would say that PDP has proven so far to be the most democratic party. And this does not mean that the president, it's not, consensus is a part of democracy. Especially when you look at the fact that, the president he didn't come out openly to declare his ambition. It's the party members who have been saying that they want the president to run, from the Board of Trustees to the National Working Committee to the National Executive Committee, and then the governors as well. So I think it's a very good development for PDP, especially if you consider the fact that as at this time last year, many people were saying that PDP was on the way out of power. And then when you consider the fact that in 2003, President Olusegun Obasanjo, he had a very hectic time, getting re-elected, getting the party ticket, as at, there were rumors that he had to beg Atiku, former vice president, as at that time. So I think President Goodluck Jonathan has played this one really well, and it's a good development for democracy and for the People's Democratic Party.
What does this do for APC now? Because it looks like a lot of people have said that the APC will refuse to hold their primaries or have any proper candidates because they're waiting for PDP to pull the first card. What does this now do for them? Or what does it do against them?
Well, it has put them under pressure because eyes have always been on the APC, not the PDP. Everybody has always known that the president will have the PDP ticket. Now the APC, they have political heavyweight in quotes. They have Atiku, the political journeyman who has been everywhere. He wants to be president. They have the perennial contestant, Buhari. They have Kwakwanso, who left the PDP for the APC. So it has put them under the spotlight because everybody, myself inclusive, is predicting that the party will disintegrate after the primaries. Because if one person wins, I don't see the others.
There will be a lot of disgruntled
elements. Yes, so it's putting them on the edge, and it's giving the PDP some kind of edge because they've started some underground campaign, even though the president is yet to formally declare. Yeah. So without declaring, the party is campaigning for the president. The man himself is quiet. So.
He's talked a lot about the APC now. Let's talk about the APC and Atiku in particular. I think yesterday he had some sort of a town hall meeting. I'm not sure what it was exactly, where there was a question and answer. I did see a bit of it on social media where I think he got a bit of heat from young Nigerians. The candidates there have not, like you said, have not come out openly to declare, but certain names keep coming up. There's Atiku, there's Kwankwaso, there's Saraki. What do you think is going to play out in that party in particular?
Well, I think the determining factor in the APC just returned to Nigeria over this weekend. That's the person of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Everybody knows that Bola Tinubu is the alpha and omega of APC. So whoever he decides will become the...
Is Buhari there though?
Yes, I mean, Bola Tinubu has declared people are saying, that he is in support of Buhari. But I think the party itself knows that Buhari... he doesn't have much of a chance this time around, as he did not have in 2003, as he didn't have in 2007, as he didn't have in 2011. For me, the only thing APC can do that might create a bit of a shake-up in, the polity presently would be to go for a radical option. Pick a presidential candidate that people never saw coming, and a vice presidential candidate that people never saw coming.
So who is that person? Who would you pull out the card if you were there?
If I were there, I would look in the direction of someone like Governor Adams or Oshiomhole. Although that may not even work eventually. I'm not saying it will work, but if you want Nigerians to keep on believing in you, if APC wants to represent that change, if they want to put themselves in a better place, for 2019, they should pick a candidate with well-known progressive credentials, well-known democratic credentials, not an Atiku who has been everywhere, like he said, not a Kwakwanso who has also been everywhere, and not a Buhari with whom many people will tag a perennial loser. Show people that you are serious, show them that you mean business as a party, and that, you know, the generation of leaders, the Bola Tinubu generations, the Atiku generations, the Buhari generations, are ready to hand over to the likes of the Oshiomholes, the Amaechis, and the Raji Fasholas.
Yeah.